Hello, my name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a relationship expert and a coach. I'm also an expert in the field of adult children of alcoholics and their recovery, and I'm also the director of the Center for Self-Differentiation. This video is entitled The ACOA Wound, the Empty Hole Inside. After talking to and helping literally thousands of ACOAs over my 35 years career in helping people, one thing I often hear is the complaint that they feel like there's an empty hole inside where something should be, but it isn't. A hole in their chest, a hole in their heart, but certainly a feeling of a hole, and a hole that seems different than the way other people feel. That they don't feel that hole the way they feel their hole. In fact, they don't even see other people as having that hole. They just feel like they have a hole. And in some instances, the ACOA actually thinks other people can kind of tell that or see that about them. So often ACOAs go about a kind of image management. Since often ACOAs don't know what normal is, don't know what the appropriate way of doing life is, they just pretend to do that and hope that nobody catches them. And again, it's a part of that hole that they experience inside. And this is what I call the ACOA wound, that hole that's in there that feels empty, that doesn't feel filled up. Growing up in an alcoholic or addicted home often entails growing up in a family in which there were patterns of certainly addiction, shame, denial, abandonment, underfunctioning or overfunctioning parents, the underfunctioning addict or alcoholic, and then the overfunctioning codependent who's the spouse. Or maybe there's an underfunctioning sibling, an overfunctioning sibling who takes care of the parenting and becomes parentified as a child and then ends up taking care of all the rest of the children. In growing up in an alcoholic home, there's that experience of either overly caregiving or compulsively self-sufficient. And I like the book, there's a book by Pat Love. I can't think of the title right now, but she uses the term compulsively self-sufficient. And I think many times ACOAs are kind of compulsively self-sufficient. They don't need it, they don't want anybody to help them, because in many ways they don't want anyone to know they don't know something. And so they will act independently and those kinds of things, or they'll do the opposite and be the overfunctioning caregiver. Growing up in an alcoholic home, we have lies, confusion, unpredictability, anger and reactivity, and real drama at times. Pretty crazy experiences. Now, not everyone who grows up in an alcoholic home has all the crazy experiences. I realize that. Every alcoholic home is different. But there's still drama, and the drama may be around even as minimally as the tense, cannot talk about secrets drama, the heightened anxiety that can't be discussed. So even though there's not overt drama of DUIs, police coming to the house, that kind of drama, somebody getting hurt, there are other kinds of emotional drama that can be chronic and actually just as traumatic. So how would I describe this hole that's left inside of us as ACOAs as a wound? Some just call it their hole inside. And so what is the experience of that hole? They will complain that they can't answer why for a lot of things. They can answer why for their past, why for their present, why for their future. They don't have any whys. I don't know why. And it's like that hole is just a big lack of knowing and lack of understanding. And so there's no whys. This hole represents what they don't know about their life, what they don't know about themselves, their own family of origin, their relationships. It's all of that not knowing and not understanding that's a part of that hole. I also hear it described as the ACOA ache, and I use that description too. There's an ache that's inside that just doesn't go away. It may go away for a while, or we get distracted. Maybe we drink a little. Maybe we use pot. Maybe we have a love addiction. Maybe we have a work addiction. But that ache goes away only for a while, and then it comes back. In the place where we feel like we struggle to love and to be loved, that's where that hole is. And we struggle with that. Why can't I just find somebody who loves me? Why can't I just love somebody else? Why does it have to be all this drama and I go from relationship to relationship, or bad relationship to relationship? Or I have this bad marriage that we have had no marriage for the last 20 years. And why am I stuck in this situation? This hole also can include a place of reactivity and hypersensitivity. There's a lot of reactivity that goes on in alcoholic and addicted homes, and then we carry this on through to adulthood, and we have a hypersensitivity and a hyperreactivity. This hole can be filled with fear or false confidence. Well, I'll just fake my way through. Nobody will know. I'll just act like I know. And I remember there was I remember a particular person whom was a supervisor at another department that I didn't work in years ago. And she definitely came from an alcoholic and addicted home because I'd heard her story. And again, she's not a client. She was someone that I had worked with. And she talked about she was just always super managing her image and overconfident. And in fact, in this particular setting, and there were a number of executive supervisors and things, and she was a supervisor, and she said she was certified in Medicare. A certified Medicare representative or something. Specialist. Well, coming from this field and knowing a little bit about certifications of coders and medical things, there is no such a thing. And I remember looking and turning to the person next to me going, I don't even know what that is. Nobody can ever get it. There is no certified Medicare specialist in the way she was describing it. And again, I think it was a part of her bravado and false confidence. And I've got to sound like I'm really something because I really don't know anything. And she really didn't know anything. She had just kind of bluffed her way through to get where she got. Strangely enough, she ended up having a situation in which she got overly upset and I think even threatened some employees with a gun that she said she had and was fired. And again, I don't think she's an evil person. I think she grew up in an alcoholic and addicted home and never dealt with her issues. And that tore up her life. Though actually I think she's probably used her resume to find probably even a greater job or a bigger promotion, which can happen. You can bravado your way through a lot of things. In this hole, there's very little self-differentiation or knowledge. This hole can spew out a lot of emotions or be as frozen as the Arctic. This hole is where our inner child lives, which has been traumatized. It's also where our allergy to intimacy is headquartered, because we're allergic to intimacy. We grew up without intimacy. We don't know what it's about, and so we have to have a place where that allergy exists. I wonder if you felt this hole or this wound inside you as an adult child or an alcoholic. I want to tell you there's some good news about this hole and about this wound. This hole can be filled in. And this is really good news. But with consistent work and recovery and healing, you can transform that wound, maybe even down to the size of a dime, rather than as big as your chest. And I think I've seen that happen. I know that happens. I know it's possible to do that. The hole can be filled in, and this is really good news. The hole can be filled in by you. That's good news. It doesn't have to be filled in by all of the relationships you've been looking for, all the jobs you've been looking for, all the money you've been looking for, all the acceptance from your family you've been looking for. None of those things are going to fill that hole. They just don't. The forgiveness you want from your parents who was alcoholic, that you want them to say they were sorry, the many ways we try to get that hole filled. Now, I think we need help in doing that. It's not an easy thing to do, and we do need assistance, and we do need help, and we do need professionals, we need a community. There's a lot of things we need to make that work. But you can heal your inner child trauma. You can heal your abandonment trauma. Confusion and lack of knowledge as to what is normal can be resolved. Family of origin work is a powerful healer and a filler of this hole. Both family of origin work from the past, going back, getting that out of us, because that's part of what keeps the hole big and open. And then also family of origin work that we struggle with today. You know, how do I, in the past, how do I heal from my parents abandoning me as a result of their alcoholism? That's from the past, healing that. And then how do I deal with my father, now that I'm an adult, who is now a dry drunk, for example? He's not drinking, but he's not in recovery. So he's kind of a pain in the butt. And how do I deal with that today? Because it still brings up my resentment. It still brings up issues and reactivity and hypersensitivity. You can work on that too. And that can become more and more reduced. And we can be less reactive and more calm, even in spite of a family who's still toxic. These things all result in filling the hole. Greater self-acceptance, self-awareness, healing and letting go, becoming more authentic, self-differentiation, inner child care, care for our inner child, self-love and self-care, ceasing the self-sabotage and destructiveness that we find within our lives, reducing the toxic family reactivity within you. And that hole gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So, Jerry, how do I do this? Well, find an expert in adult child of alcoholic issues. Don't let someone tell you ACOA issues don't exist. You'll find that with many therapists, pastors, caregivers, social workers, psychologists. Oh, it's not a big deal. Oftentimes, the folks that I have been aware of, in the past particularly, who would deny ACOA issues were ACOAs themselves and didn't want to deal with it. And so they just said it doesn't mean anything. And we all tend to do that. If I don't want to deal with something, then I'm going to deny it. So if I haven't dealt with my ACOA issues, and you come to me and say, hey, I'd like to work on ACOA issues. Oh, well, we don't really need to work on ACOA issues. I don't even believe in that anyway. Because I haven't dealt with mine as a caregiver, for example. Don't let some professional say, well, we'll just leave that in the past and let's just move on. And don't let some caregiver, therapist, pastor, tell you just to fill the hole with something else. Because we will. That's part of the problem. And that's part of the difficulty. If you want to learn more about healing this ACOA hole that you feel inside, contact me. Also, you can see my contact information on the screen. I have clients all over the U.S. and in foreign countries. Contact me for Skype or FaceTime professional help if you're not from Indiana. You can join me in my office online if you're near me. And please share my videos with your social media. They are free, and we try to provide good information to those who are hurting. I want to thank you today for listening, and you have a great day.